Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be learning about solving simultaneous equations. So, simultaneous equations are two equations, a bit like the two that I'm now showing you, where they both have an x value, which is the same, and also the y value in both of them is the same. There will only be one pair of values that solve both equations at the same time. So there is only one available answer. So there's three ways of solving simultaneous equations. You can do it using a graph, you can solve it using elimination, or you can solve it using substitution. Today we are going to be looking at the substitution method, and in the following classes we will look at elimination and using a graph. So, we're going to have a look at the question now. We've got two simultaneous equations. 3x plus y equals 13 and 5x minus 2y equals 7. Step 1 is to rearrange one of the equations to equal either y or x. So in other words, we're making either y or x subject of the formula. The easiest way to do that would be to take the first equation we have here, so 3x plus y equals 13, and rearrange it so that y would be on its own the subject of that equation. The way we do that is we'll move this 3x to the other side of the equal sign, but we need to do that mathematically. So the way we do that is we minus 3x from both sides, because whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. So if we're going to minus 3x from both sides, then that cancels out with our positive 3x here, leaving us with y. And on the other side, we're left with 13 minus 3x. We've now made y the subject of the formula, so we can move on to step 2. Step 2 is to substitute this new equation that we've just made into the second equation, which is the equation that we haven't yet used. That is 5x minus 2y equals 7. So by substitution, I mean that we're going to replace the y value in that second equation with 13 minus 3x. The reason we can do that is because we know that y equals 13 minus 3x. So I'm now going to rewrite it with our substitution. So it would be 5x minus 2, and then we put the substitution in brackets, 13 minus 3x. Close bracket equals 7. So now you'll see that we only have x values in our equation, and that means that it's much easier to solve it to find x. That is step 3, to solve the equation to find x. Solving this equation involves several steps, so I'm going to work through each step with you. Step 1 would be to multiply out this bracket so that it's easier to solve. So we would end up with 5x, and then we need to do minus 2 multiplied by 13, which would give us minus 26. Then you need to do minus 2 multiplied by minus 3x. We've got a negative multiplied by a negative value, so we are ending up with a positive value of plus 6x. Still leaves us with 7. It stays the same. Our next step is to collect the like terms. So in this case, our like terms are 5x and 6x. If we add those together, we will get 11x, and we still got minus 26 equals 7. Our next stage would be to add 26 to both sides, so we cancel it out on this side of the equation, and we're left with just 11x on this side. So we'll have 11x, but then we need to add 26 on the other side, because remember we do the same thing to both sides of the equation. So that would be 7 plus 26, which is 33. I'm just going to start up here now so that we have a bit more space. We've got 11x equals 33, which means that we've got one more step, which is to divide by 11 so that we have x on its own. And in that case, x would be the subject of the formula again. So we're dividing by 11 again on both sides of the equation, which would leave us with x equals 3. So we've now found our value for x. This x value is true both for our first equation, 3x plus y equals 13, and our second, 5x minus 2y equals 7. Step 4 is to use this x value to find the value of y. So again, we will use substitution to do this. The easiest way is to use this formula we already rearranged so that y is the subject. So I'm going to rewrite that formula. Y equals 13 minus 3x. So I can then substitute that x because we know that x equals 3. That's what we've worked out before. So y equals 13 minus 3, and then again the substitution needs to go in a bracket. That's really important. Then we solve that, so we're first going to multiply out the bracket like we did the first time. So we get 13 minus 9, because minus 3 times 3 is 9. And finally, that leaves us with y equals 4. And that would be our final answer. Good idea to write your answer really clearly for your examiner. So I will just write here, x equals 3 and y equals 4. Okay, that just makes it nice and clear so you know you've definitely got the marks and they won't miss them. So we've now solved our simultaneous equation. If you wanted to check your answer, you can substitute these values into our original equations, and you should get the correct answer each time you do that. If you do, you know you've definitely got it right. A little exam technique for you here. If you are asked to solve simultaneous equations in your exam, the paper quite often specifies which method they want you to use. So if they ask for the substitution method, you're not going to get the marks if you use a different method. So really make sure that you understand the difference between these three methods, and you show all your working out so that they are able to award you the marks. Great work today. In our next couple of lessons, we're going to be learning the elimination technique and using a graph technique. And until then, have a